Hello everybody and Happy New Year. It's now 2025 and for this year I have a very special project for all of my subscribers, and I'm going to introduce you to my father's favourite book. I am in fact sitting in front of a big collection of my father's books, in front of the fireplace, in front of our Westminster clock dating back to around about 1940, 1950, sitting on this antique chair that Mum bought. This is a Brentwood carver chair. It's my sister's favourite chair. I used to be a pop star when I was about 4, standing on this chair. So my dad loved antiques, and what I have here is an antique cookbook dating back to 1816. My father even took this cookbook to the Antique Roadshow in 1984 in Poole, and at the time it was valued at £40. I have no idea how much it's worth now, but for me this means a lot to me because it's belonged to my dad. So what is the name of this book? It's called A New System of Domestic Cookery, formed upon principles of economy and adapted to the use of private families by a lady. Printed in 1816. This lady was a lady called Mary Rundle, who was considered the first cookery goddess of the early 19th century. We have other goddesses now like Nigel Lawson or Delia Smith, but the first female cookery goddess was Mary Rundle. So this book was in publication for a long time, from 1806 until about 1860. This one dates back to 1860, so it's 209 years old. And this afternoon I actually went through the whole recipe book, looking for recipes that we don't really see in cookery books today. So I'm going to go through a run through of some of the recipes I discovered today, and then slowly this year I'm going to talk about these recipes, so you'll find out more about what is or what was early Victorian cooking. So for fish, we have salmon collards, cod's head and shoulders, crimp cod, how to dress salt cod, how to dress fresh sturgeon, how to roast sturgeon, thornback and skate, stewed carp, perch and tench, how to bake pike, how to fry smelts. I have no idea what smelts are. Eels. Now eels is a very popular dish in East London. Like you've got eels and mash, but I have the impression that eels were more popular in early 19th century England compared to now. So we've got eels, spit choke eels, fried eels, boiled eels, eel broth and collared eel. So disgusting. Stewed lobsters, prawns and crayfish. Apparently it's meant to be a very beautiful dish. How to feed oysters, ? And oyster loaves. So now let's go on to meat, such as beef. To salt beef red, beef alamode. I have no idea what was alamode in early 19th century England. A fricassee of beef, to press beef, to make hunter's beef, to collar beef, beef steak and oyster sauce, beef scallop, beef cake for a side dish, to dress cold beef, to roast tongue. Oh, I can't stand tongue. But this is to roast tongue and udder. Sounds disgusting. To pickle tongue, to stew tongue, and even beef hearts. Then we've also got ox cheek, Southtrap Dad Love Tribe. It's very popular in France and remaining other countries, but not so much in England. Then ox feet or cow's heels, not shoe heels. A neck of veal à la brasse, to collar a breast of veal. I kept on seeing the word to collar, and I learned that to collar is when you actually put the meat, like eel or veal or beef, in a special cheesecloth and you cook it in your choice of broth, but we'll talk about that in future recipes. Cullets Maintenon, I've got no idea what it is. Scotch scallops, to boil calf's head, and mock turtle soup. That was very popular in early 19th century England. In fact, it even became part of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. Let's go on to pork. To scald a suckling pig, that's so awful. That was so bad when I read that. Pettitoes, hog's head. To roast porker's head, pig's cheek. You see that in pet shops now. Hog's cheek the same. To force hog's ears, and different ways of dressing pig's feet and ears. And jelly of pig's feet and ears. It sounds disgusting. I would not eat this. Mutton. To roast a saddle of mutton. To dress mutton lumps. Mutton caperbed, china chulo. Lamb, such as lamb sweetbreads. Then part 3, going on to poultry. Pulled turkey, I suppose it's no different to pulled pork, I've tried. Devon pork fowls, to hash ducks, to stew giblets, to pickled pigeons, and even larks, the bird. Then we can go on to game. To pot more game, to dress plovers, to roast ortolans. There's so many different things here I just have never heard of before. And to make a rabbit taste much like hare. I think people still eat rabbit, but I can't remember the last time I saw hare on a menu. Don't forget that during the Second World War, and not just in England but in other countries, a lot of people would breed rabbits because they were very easy to breed and easy to keep in a small garden, and it was a form of protein. And then I'm going to go on to part 4. Now I'm going to go into part 4, soups and gravies. Have you heard of these before? A white soup, giblet soup, partridge soup, gravy soup, a rump soup, Harrison soup and ragu. Again it comes up, eel soup, skate soup, oyster soup. This is so funny. And gravy, to make mutton eat like venison. And the first thing I noticed was the language used, because now we would say to taste like venison, not to eat like venison. Savoury jelly, to put over cold pie. All very strange. Now we're going to go on to part 5, which is again looking at different sauces. A very good sauce to hide the bad odour of fowls. You'll definitely see in the cookbook now. Egg sauce. To make parsley sauce where no parsley leaves are to be had. Very interesting. Sauce Robert for rump and steak. Benetton sauce and tomato sauce. Now I'm definitely going to talk about the tomato sauce here, because this is the first cookbook that has the recipe for tomato sauce, and everybody now likes tomato sauce, but they now call it ketchup. Old currant sauce for venison. Then you've also got camp vinegar, gooseberry vinegar, cucumber vinegar, mushroom powder, how to make sprouts taste like anchovies, force meat. That's a new word I learned today. Force meat is basically meat that you would force into something, like when you're making sausage meat, for example. Then we're going to go on to part 6, which is pies. Calf's head pie, squab pie, French pie, turnip pie, potato pie. I'm definitely going to mention that because there's a famous book that was written, that was made into a film set in Guernsey during the Second World War, and it's when people had nothing to eat and they ended up eating potato peel pie. So I'm definitely going to talk about that book in a future video. And also herb pie. Then we'll go on to puddings, which were very popular in 19th century England. Amber pudding, puddings in haste, New College puddings, I'm wondering if that's named after New College in Oxford. Nelson pudding, named after Admiral Nelson, of course. Duke of Cumberland's pudding, transparent pudding, a George pudding, maybe that's named after King George, because in 1806 I think it was still King George III. An excellent plain potato pudding with meat. Yeah, in the past puddings were made with meat. Millet pudding, Shelford pudding, boiled curd pudding, pippin pudding, Welsh pudding, and different types of puddings. Then I'm going on to pastries, potato paste, mince pie without meat. Nowadays mince pies have no meat, but 200 years ago mince meat still had meat in them. Egg mince pies, pippin tart, cotton tart, oyster patties, Podovese patties. Now going on to part 7. This is all to do with vegetables, but here are some very strange ones here. Method of keeping green peas. As practiced in the Emperor of Russia's kitchen, so you have to remember in early 19th century we still had big empires such as the Russian Empire, even the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and even Britain had a big empire as well. How to stew green peas, how to stew cucumbers, how to stew celery. Lava, what is that? I've got no idea. Hunter's pudding and common plum pudding. Right, so we've also got here pickles, English bamboo, mushroom ketchup, walnut ketchup, cockle ketchup. Didn't mention tomato ketchup. Now going on to part 8, we've got sweet dishes such as snowballs, lemon potatoes, a tansy, I've got no idea what that is, and a Somersetshire femmity. Now femmity is a type of dessert, but it's interesting it mentions Somersetshire. Now it's just Somerset, and that is a region in the southwest of England. A curd star, sack cream, I think that's with wine, imperial cream, maybe that's referring to the British Empire, snow cream, a camel cover for sweetmeats, Hartsham jelly, wine roll, ice waters, London syllabub. Dad used to like syllabub. That is an alcoholic dessert, I definitely remember that. Devonshire junket, lemon honeycomb, carrots of rice, sour mahogany, and potted cheese. Now going to sweetmeats. To prepare barberries for tartlets, to preserve green apricots, apricot cheese, orange chips, white gooseberry jam, gooseberry, mussel plum cheese, barberry drops. Even got recipes of how to preserve fruits for winter. Don't forget, in those days we just had a pantry. We didn't have tins and we didn't have fridges. Then part 9 is cakes, and I don't know what is the difference between a common cake, an excellent cake, and a very fine cake. We've got drop cakes, lily white cakes, a good pound cake, that's interesting. Shrewsbury cake, Tunbridge cake, water cakes, Benton tea cakes, cracknecks, Richard bun, American flour. This is very interesting. Wheat flour was only for the rich, and poor people ended up buying bread from other flours that were not so refined, and sometimes bakers used to cheat them by adding strange things to the bread to make it more bulky. So that's why it says here how to discover whether bread has been adulterated with whitening or chalk. Can you believe that chalk used to be used in bread? And how to detect bones, jalap, ashes in bread. Can you believe that? What people used to add to bread in the early 19th century. Yorkshire cake and breadfruit rolls. And now I'm going to go into part 10. Now going to part 10, and this is everything to do with drinks and medicines, such as English wines such as blackcurrant wine, cowslip wine, elder wine, clary wine. My father used to make all these type of wines. Raisin wine with cider, spelled C-Y-D-E-R, sap mead, raspberry brandy, Verde or milk punch, Norfolk punch. Now we're going to go on to part 11, which is dairy management. Something you definitely won't see today. On the management of cows, observations respecting cheese, how to preserve cheese, how to preserve butter, how to scald cream as in the west of England, syrup of cream, and to choose butter at market, because of course now it's very easy to choose market butter. You just choose your favourite butter, maybe from Denmark, maybe from France, maybe salted, maybe unsalted, but it was very different 200 years ago. Then it goes on to how to manage the poultry yards, management of fowls, how to make hens lay, how to fatten fowls or chickens in 4 to 5 days, and how to choose eggs at the markets. Then we go on to part 12, and this is the last part. And nowadays we've got pharmacies, we've got pharmaceutical products, big companies that make medicine for us, but in the past we had to depend on Granny's recipes. So here is for cookery for the sick and poor: clear broth, a very wet broth, broth of beef, calf's feet broth, eel broth, tench broth, beef tea, Dr. Ratcliffe's recipe with pork jelly, shank jelly, arrowroot jelly, tapioca jelly, Gloucester jelly, panada, snippets when the stomach will not receive meat, cold caudle, a flour caudle, salop, well, I should say saloup, because salop in French means something else, asses milk, barley gruel, a very agreeable drink, a most pleasant draught, Dr. Bohalve's sweet buttermilk, and then for the poor, sago and baked soup. And now the last part is something which you won't see nowadays anywhere, because nowadays people don't have servants, but it was quite normal in 19th century England. Maybe in other parts of the world you still have houseboys and girls or home helps, but in our 19th century England, like in many countries, we still had servants. So here are some tips for servants: how to make wash balls, hungry water, how to cement broken china, how to take stains, iron mould and mildew out of linen, how to preserve furs. Nowadays people don't wear furs. A liquor to wash old deeds of parchment paper, how to preserve the rot in sheep, or how to prevent the rot in sheep, how to preserve a granary from insects and weasels, how to destroy crickets, how to preserve different things, how to dust carpets and floors, how to clean carpets. Now we have hoovers, but not in 1816. And last of all, how to clean the back of the grates, the inner half, the cast iron stove and fronts, how to clean the cast iron and the black half, and how to take the black off the bright bars of the polished stoves in a few minutes. That is my list, and I look forward to making some interesting videos this year to explain some of these very interesting recipes and tips from my book dating back to 1816, called A New System of Domestic Cookery by a Lady.